Looking great, by the way.
Oh, bless you.
Looking lovely.
Not looking like 103 years old. Soft filter.
Okay, we're rolling.
It's got to be relevant and just not me and my ego. It's got to be. I think it's got to be. Well, you can get the album. Hopefully, I said that. What made me make this album? Well, you know, people see me on the internet and they, you know, all the time they're saying, well, where's your album? You know, where's your album? I spend doing the DVDs and the magazine stuff. I spend so much time, you know, maybe copying other guitar players, and I guess it was time to just to prove a point. I mean, this album has taken two and a half years, you know, and it's not that it's taken constantly 2.5 years, it's just that everything I put on the album I want to be proud of, and so for every one track that's made the album, maybe I've eliminated 3 tracks that just sound like a backing track with guitar playing whittling over the top of it. It's not about that. Each track stands up as a piece of music rather than just a guitar, you know, player showing what he can do. I hear so many, you know, guitar players, it's all about technique and how fast they can play. And sure, that has its place, and there's a bit of that on the album. You have to balance it out with composition and you know, it standing up as musically. I mean, I get excited about people like John Barry and Hans Zimmer. You know, I like the thematic. I like to think that maybe one of the tracks on the album could be a theme tune to a film or a TV program. I like that fact. So I've taken pride. You know, that was always in me. To make the album like that, it takes longer because you have to, you know, you have to sort of eliminate the stuff that is just about technique and showing off. Obviously, there's a little bit of showing off on there because I want guitar players to enjoy it, but I also want people to enjoy, you know, people that don't play. I want people to hear it and enjoy it as something that they might just put on while they're doing something around the house or driving the car. If it sounds good in the car, then it's a great album. So, you know, what made me do the album? It's just time to do it. It's time to. I want people to hear me as a guitar player rather than just a session guy or someone who does tutorials on you know, DVDs or on YouTube or whatever. I want people to hear something that comes from inside me. And you know, 10 years ago, maybe before the internet, it wasn't worth doing because, you know, it's hard to put something out by yourself. But nowadays, with the internet and with a little bit of profile, hopefully the people that like my playing will buy the album and word will spread. I mean, you know, I want it to appeal to people that like my guitar playing, but not just the guitar playing. I want it to appeal to people that like music in general. It is an instrumental album. There's no vocals on it, so the guitar is the vocal, and it's hard. It's hard to get the balance right of it, you know, of it being a good piece of music and not just about, you know, technique. You know, it's a hard balance, but I think I got the balance right. I've pulled out a lot of hair to get it right, but I think it sounds good. Hopefully. I wanted it to be a 10-track album. I could have stopped at 7. I could have stopped at 8, but something about the 10 tracks just feels right, you know. And each track has its own space. You know, it's not. Hopefully, it's not 10 tracks sounding the same. Each has its own colour and own life. And I probably adapt the guitar playing to each track. You know, maybe on a heavier track will sound different to the way I play a more intimate track. And so I do like players that can go from this to that. I like players like Michael Landau, I like Brent Mason, you know, Jeff Beck, Steve Lukather. These players are complete guitarists, you know, and I'm of that school of thought that okay, so I play that way on that track, but I'm going to play this way on that track. You can still hear it's me, hopefully, but I treat guitar playing as a colour, and I like that depth of sound where you can hear different facets to a guitar player. That's why I really get excited about listening to those guys. Obviously I like people like Eric Clapton and all the great players. I like, Jeff Beck, Van Halen. There's a whole list of Joe Walsh. I like, but it's, to me, the guitar being a voice, it's a tricky thing. It's not just about technique. It's about a complete sound and it appealing somewhere deep inside, rather than just, a 15-year-old kid who wants to copy a lick off you. I want it to appeal to people that like music. Hopefully, I like it to be compositionally strong, and I'd like people, because I've written songs in the past. I mean, I've been in this business for a long time. I've been signed to RCA, MCA as a, I used to front a band singing, but singing is such hard work. I wasn't born to sing. I play guitar, and it's, the voice, looking after a voice and singing is a whole different mindset. But I wanted this initially. Maybe I will do a vocal album, maybe with other singers, maybe more about the songs. But these are songs, and it's based around the guitar. So it's nice of you to say that you see me as an artist rather than a guitar player. And
both at the same time.
Oh, at the same time, well, that's nice of you to say that, because that's a big that's the biggest compliment probably anyone can get if you're a musician. Because I love playing guitar. I'm passionate about playing guitar. Even if I didn't do it professionally, I would do it as a hobby. I mean, look at them. They're just beautiful objects. So I am quite passionate about it, and I'm lucky enough that maybe I've got a little bit of a flair for it, and people enjoy listening to me play, which is, I'm lucky. It's but it's been a long time coming, because I've been playing all my life. Since I was 10 or 11, and so it's like if you do something often enough, you're going to get good at it, I guess. And I'm very old now, so it's but I want it to appeal to guitar players, and I want guitar players to hear maybe the difference of maybe music that has a little bit of depth rather than just technique and speed. I mean, the guys that do that are great, but the thing is, I can click on YouTube and see any 15-year-old kid sweeping and tapping and doing speed licks. Everybody can do that. It's the easiest thing in the world to play guitar fast. But I think the guitar players like Lukather and like Clapton and Jeff Beck and these players, Scott Henderson, that they don't just play fast. You can hear every note means something, and I just want the tracks to encompass every note means something. So maybe that's what you're hearing. So, well, complaints about the noise. I visualise. I'm imagining a band, sort of a group of friends getting together and having a jam, and just the policewoman knocking at the door, and then the noise getting more and more, them sort of throwing caution to the wind and going for it. That's kind of how the track is formulated. It sounds like a jam of a band, and it's just a bunch of kids getting together to play. That was the sort of idea of the, but it ends up sounding like a bit like a Hot for Teacher, but I don't know. It sort of goes up in stages, the track. I really like it, and I quite think it's quite a catchy name for a track. So I was so proud of myself about coming up with the name for the track. I thought I'd call the album "Complaints About the Noise" because it's quite humorous. Hopefully, there's a bit of humour there. Whatever. I think every guitarist growing up has had complaints from their parents or the neighbours. I did especially. I was always turning the guitar up to see what it sounds like, because it changes when you turn the guitar up with an amplifier. It sounds better. So if you're living at your parents or wherever, the neighbours, and I always bought the biggest amp as well. So I wasn't one of those ones to buy a little practice amp. I wanted to hear that sound. So yes, I've had plenty of complaints about the noise. Yeah. One of the tracks on the album is called Unearthed, and I was going to call the album Unearthed until Complaints About the Noise Rose's head. But the story behind Unearthed, it's an epic sounding song. It was the first tune that I started recording at my house in Spain, in the mountains, in the Andalusia mountains, and I drove all my gear down there, as much, a couple of amps and not all my gear, but a couple of amps and a few choice guitars, and drove the gear down there and started recording. But every time I touched the strings, or I was getting noises, I was getting electric shocks and buzzes, and I was thinking, oh no, this is going to be a nightmare. And we started getting electric shocks off the cooker. So we got a guy down from the agency, to a handyman, and he basically said the whole wiring in the house is all new, except right at the last minute they haven't actually earthed the house to the ground. So we were just walking around in a death trap, and I was just scared with what was going on. So I called that track Unearthed, because it was the first track of getting, it was dangerous times in that I did it probably completely unearthed. So that's why it's called Unearthed. It's going to be called Trinkets. Yeah, that track started off because I put that track together for a string bending and vibrato DVD, which you can check out on YouTube. And I just think the track had potential, so I didn't want to waste it. I liked it. Every time everybody's heard it, it was just I got good impressions from people when they heard it. So I thought, okay, we'll use it for the album. So I've embellished it slightly, and I've called it Trinkets now. But yeah, there was a working title of String Bending, because it is from the String Bending Lick Library DVD. There's a track, one of my favourite tracks on the album is called Valley Cats, and it's dedicated to anybody out there that has an original Valley Arts guitar. There's only 2,500 Valley Arts guitars out there, so if you're a Valley Cat, that track's for you. I quite, they're my main guitars really. I use all sorts of, I use Tylers and I use Fenders, but the old Valley Arts guitars, they have something about them. The wood is fantastic. It's back from the days when Lukather and Larry Carlton were using these guitars, and they're quite rare. I like the fact that they're very, very rare, and everyone has it. Every Valley Arts guitar has its own own sound, but the craftsmanship and the wood involved, I find it hard when I pick up other guitars. I'm always comparing it to the Valley Arts guitars. I mean, I'm lucky that I've got a few of them. Most of them are behind me, but it just makes more modern guitars seem a little bit mass-produced, because there's something about a Valley Arts guitar that, I don't know, it seems to have some sort of mojo. Anyone that's played one will know. But there's a track called Valley Cats, and it's dedicated to anybody who owns or likes a Valley Arts guitar. Well, because I decided to record with no distractions and record the guitars in Spain, in the mountains in Spain, there was only so much gear I could take. I'm lucky enough that I do own a lot of gear. Just through what I do for sessions and stuff, it's just accumulated, and I rarely sell things, But I stripped it down to what I could do, the bare minimum, and basically I used a Marshall head. I took a JVM 410 H head down there, just because it's got so many sounds in it. A little Black Star HT20, a whole ton of pedals, and 3 guitars. I used a Valley Arts Custom Pro, in fact 2 Valley Arts Custom Pros, and a Strat, so 3 guitars mainly. And I also did a couple of things on a borrowed Vox AC30 from someone that was in the town nearby. So there's a few Brian May treble boosty sounds on there, but that didn't belong to me. I did have, I'm my own worst enemy, because when I'm recording, I always, any guitarist can relate to this, I always know I can do a better take. So the problem and difficulties for me were to know when, okay, this is it, you've done it now, because I always think I can do a better one. And 9 times out of 10, I probably can do a better one. And so you start questioning yourself about where is the line of what is acceptably, good. What can you live with? What guitar solo are you going to live with for the next, 20 years? So So my main difficulty of recording the album was I was my own worst critic. There was no one to, there's not a producer involved. I'm producing it and I'm arranging it. So when it all comes from you, I'm used to bouncing ideas with producers and songwriters and whatever, but when it all comes from you, it's hard because you have to commit at a certain point. And I'm the worst I'm the worst OCD perfectionist, and I just want it better and better and better. Some guitar solos I did 1 or 2 takes, but other guitar solos I was refining and refining and refining, and I dread to think how many takes I did, but the end result is cool. There's a lot of happy moments on there as well, happy accidents, which are also happy moments, where things happen in the recording process, or something happened with the whammy bar, and you just can't lose those little things. And sometimes you only get those things by actually throwing a lot of stuff at the wall and doing take after take. Suddenly something great happens, and you go, oh, the trouble is, you kind of don't know how you did it, and you've got to reproduce it live at some point. But hopefully people will pick out certain things where, how did he do that? I'm sometimes wondering how I did that when I'm listening back to it. But so the worst thing about doing the album by myself was being my own, my own censor and my own worst critic. If you check the cover, you'll see that River Relic Valley Arts, that used to belong to Steve Ferris in Mr. and it was in the Nashville flood, and I've brought it back to life through my guitar tech and a lot of money, but it's a great guitar and it's just got so much character, and you'll see that guitar on the cover and you'll see water sprinkled onto it. It's a photographer friend of mine who put that together, but again, see, the perfectionist in me comes out again. He put that together because he's a photographer friend of mine and I've known him from school, but now I want more water. So I don't know if you're going to get the version that's around at the moment, or if by the time you see this interview, you will get more water on the picture. But I've got to get my friend to do it, get more water. It's digitally. It's very clever what you can do now. But it's a great picture because it doesn't look like a guitar. It sort of looks like a spaceship or something going on. He showed me the technique. It's a secret technique that he used to get that image. But that guitar looks great on the cover. So it's one of my favourite Valley Arts guitars as well. And it used to belong to Steve from Mr. Yeah, I've got some great musicians on the album. All friends of mine, luckily. Pete Riley is a fantastic drummer. One of my favourite drummers in England. I'm lucky to, he's a friend of mine, but he plays with Guthrie and he's played with Keith Emerson, does a lot of the magazine stuff, does all the Lick Library stuff. But if it doesn't make a good guitar album, then it'll certainly make a good drum album because there's some great playing on there from him. So hopefully drummers and guitar players will like it. But yeah, Pete's a great player. I've got various bass players on there. My friend Phil Williams, who plays with Tony Hadley, Andy Carr, who plays with ABC, and I think he's just recently toured with Bananarama. But these are all, these are friends. We're all in the same game. We're making a living doing sessions and playing with whoever we can. These are all great friends and great session players. And when I give them specifically certain tracks because I know their style of playing will suit that track. There's another guy called Mike Nichols who played the double bass on Beginning of Complaints About the Noise, where it's that rockabilly thing where they're slapping and playing, and it's very hard to find a bass player that can do that, but Mike did that. Andy Staples has played a lot on a lot of the tracks. He does all the Lick Library. If you hear a Lick Library DVD, then he's played bass on it. And Andy's great. He knows. It's all done via the internet, actually. I didn't have to be there to say what was required. Just all the players, if you point them in the right direction, they can get the vision, hopefully, and they bring something to the table. It's one thing just playing the notes, but it's another thing with the musicians actually improving, what's in my head. So, and all the guys that have played on the album, great. I got Steve Turner. He's a great keyboard player. He played Hammond on Valley Cats, a track called Valley Cats. Phil Taylor, who plays with Tony Hadley, he's an old friend of mine. He's added a lot of keyboards and textures to the track. Mixer Milo, a great artist and keyboard player. You should Google her. Her own material is fantastic. She's a great pianist. So she lives in Spain, where I did the album. So while we were together, she put a lot of piano on the album. So if you hear some piano on there, it'll be her. But mainly the guitar is the real thing. It's a lot of times I fill the space with guitar. What people think might be keyboards is usually, with me, it's usually going to be guitar. But sometimes, a Fender Rhodes or a Hammond organ or a piano, you just need that sound to give a track depth. Finding the right guy to mix the album that was an ordeal. It's not that I don't know some great producers and mixers, but it's more about the passion and getting into my headspace. And one old sparring partner of mine, a guy called Keith Moore, who's a fantastic guitar player, much better than me. He sort of stopped playing guitar a number of years ago and got heavily into engineering and mixing. And he rang me, he got my number and rang me and said, I hear you're doing an album, I'm going to mix it. And I just sort of, okay, I like that, because not only is he a guitar player, he's great with drums, he's great with sound, and he can get into my head, and he sees the vision. As soon as he hears the WAV files, he knows exactly where I want the track to go. And him being a guitar player, it's ideal, because he knows how to treat the guitars, and it's hard mixing a guitar album. It's not like mixing a pop record or a vocal record. When the guitar is the voice, it's a hard deal to get it sounding how it should. And because Keith is a great guitar player, he knows how I want it. So I'm very lucky to have found Keith. And also he takes pride in what he does. So if I'm not happy with something, he wants me to be happy, and we'll do it again, and we'll do it again. Most mixers will say, there's your mix, that's what I've done. But he will, together we will refine it, and I also like that fact. So, I was lucky to find him, and he's done a great job on the album. I've got fairly eclectic tastes. I mean, I get excited just as much by the Carpenters as I do about Van Halen. I like music in general. I don't just like guitar playing. So each track maybe reflects that. I really enjoy grooves and funk. If a guitar player hasn't got the groove, to me, I switch off. I'm always listening for that thing where it's got that inherent rhythm or groove. So, and colours, building colours. So each track, you say sounds different. It's because I'm quite eclectic about what I listen to. I like classical music, I like rock music, I like funk, I like jazz, I like songs. For me, a song, I like David Bowie, I like Peter Gabriel, but you wouldn't name those as guitar playing albums, would you? But I get just as excited by Chris Cornell's voice as I do about listening to Steve Lukather's guitar solo. It's so that's probably reflected. I would hate to listen or expect anybody to listen to 10 tracks of basically what sounds the same. I want the album to reflect a mood that you're in. I'm going to put that, I want to hear that song, or oh, that sounds good in the car, I've got to get that track on. I want different colours. So yeah, I'm glad you said that each track maybe reflects different genres. It's all guitar playing, and I suppose you could put it all in rock. I suppose it's not a jazz album, it's not a funk album, but it's not a rock album. It's a guitar album, and I just think about depth of sound, and as I say, and I think about colours and moods. So hopefully, the album reflects that. I mean, John Barry. Just as soon as you hear anything he's done, it's instantly John Barry. It's just, we are not worthy. Did he recently die? Is he recently? Yes, he did. Yeah, but as soon as you put something on by him, you instantly know it's him, and just these arrangements were just brilliant. John Barry moment. Why should you buy the album? Well, I don't know why you should buy the album, but what I'd like to say is that I'm very grateful that people have followed me for quite a time now, and I wanted to do it just to, for the people that dig my playing, really, because I feel privileged. There's so many great guitar players out there. You know, you've only got to get on YouTube, and it's just there's guitar playing. You're never more than 15 feet away from a great guitar player. You know, they're like rats. You know, it's kind of they're everywhere. So I'm just grateful that people dig my playing and want to hear something from me. So please buy the album just to hear me, really. Does that make sense? Would that work? All right, let's do it again.
Yeah, got an idea.
Why should anybody buy the album? Well, there are so many great guitar players out there, and I'm just grateful for the people that have stuck by me and followed me and just are interested in my style of playing. So for those people, I've sort of done it for people that just dig my playing, really. And also just to make a statement that although there is a lot of technical playing on the album, I'm more into the passion behind the note. Every note has a story, you know. Every little sound on the guitar has a story. I treat the guitar like a voice, and a really good singer will connect with you. So that's what I'm trying to do with the album. So maybe it's for a more trained ear, I don't know, but you know, I've been playing a guitar for a long time, and it's what appeals to me when I listen to other guitar players. If it connects and every note means something, then I will usually, you know, really enjoy that guitar player's music. So for those of you that dig my playing and followed me, it's for you guys, really. So I hope you like it. I want to thank everybody for waiting for it, because it's been a while, and it's not that the album has taken 2 years to record. It's just my schedule and other people's schedules and studio time, and there's a lot of things going on in my life. So, and getting rid of the average stuff. I want each track to be, you know, gold rather than bronze. So there was stuff I've recorded that hasn't made the album. So it's just been a refining process. So that's why it's taken so long. And we're still not finished. I've got to do keyboards and bass day after tomorrow on the last track. It's nearly there, but it just needs refining and tweaking. Then it's going to be mixed and mastered, and hopefully people should find it on iTunes in the next couple of months, once we sort the artwork out. I think I've got the album cover, but hopefully in the next couple of months you will find it on iTunes. And maybe I'm going to print up some hard copies, which I'm negotiating with Lick Library, so maybe the Lick Library fans can actually get a hard copy. I don't know if it makes a difference. Maybe if I autograph them, limited edition hard copies. I don't know. You're going to get a personal autograph one. By design or by lucky accident, the album does come across as a bit of a journey. It's I hate to say musical journey, but when you listen to it, I mean, my favourite place for listening to any music is in the car, and I have put it on just to test run it, you know, and it does. Each track does take you to a different place, not only in your head, but hopefully in your emotion, and maybe if you're a guitar player, it takes you to a different place guitar playing wise. So in many ways, it is a bit of a journey. My attention span for listening to instrumental music a lot of the time is probably about 15 minutes. So I'm hoping that people that like instrumental music, and especially guitar albums, that they will, you know, give me at least 20 minutes. I hope it sort of carries all the way through the attention span. Cut. You know.